Your choice reveals a pattern you repeat, even when you swear you have changed. Every time you walk into a new job, a new relationship, a new group, a part of you quietly decides how much space you are allowed to take. These 5 crowns are not just pretty symbols. Each one carries a different story about power, worth, and permission. In this Jungian test, we are not trying to judge you or put you in a box. We are simply letting your unconscious point at the crown that feels strangely familiar, the one that mirrors the way you secretly see yourself when no one is watching. Stay with me, because what you pick in the next seconds will reveal where you keep shrinking yourself to stay safe, accepted, or loved. Do not overthink this part. Look at the 5 crowns and notice which one your eyes return to before your mind starts explaining why. Maybe it feels like home. Maybe it scares you a little. Maybe it makes you think, I wish I could be like that. That is the one. Pick one crown from 1 to 5 and keep it. First impression is greater than logic here. Your body knows faster than your thoughts. Stick with it, even if you are tempted to change your answer. The moment you decide is already part of your pattern, so just breathe, choose, and remember your number. In a moment, I will tell you what each crown reveals about how you treat your own authority, how you handle praise, criticism, and responsibility, and what your shadow does to protect you from feeling too big or too small. At the very end, I will tie all 5 choices together and give you one specific, practical step linked to your number, so this Jung test does not stay just in your head. Only in that final connection will the deeper meaning really click. So if you feel that something in you is tired of dimming its light just to keep the peace, let this whole video be a gentle invitation to step back into your place on your own inner throne. If you chose option 1, this often happens when you feel you must be the responsible one even when you are tired inside. Stay with me, because this crown shows a pattern you repeat quietly for years, keeping everything shining on the outside while shrinking yourself on the inside. Symbolically, this is the archetype of the golden ruler, the one who holds the room together, carries the plan, smooths the conflict, and makes sure no one feels left out. In Jung-style language, this crown is your persona, the noble mask that says, I am fine, I can handle it, I will make it work. The light side is beautiful. People trust you, lean on you, and often see you as the calm center of the group. But pay attention to this. The same crown can become heavy when your worth slowly fuses with how useful you are to everyone else. You start believing that as long as others are okay, you are not allowed to ask for more, to rest, or to be fully seen. Stay with me and notice this loop. Whenever a problem appears, your first reflex is what do they need? Never what do I need? Picture a normal evening at work or with family. A deadline is tight or dinner is running late and tension starts to rise. Before anyone even asks, you are already smoothing things, organizing, fixing, cleaning, sending messages, making sure others feel safe. You think if I hold everything together, nobody will be disappointed. And secretly, you hope someone will notice your effort and tell you to rest. Here is the twist. The more masterful you become at holding it all, the less likely people are to imagine that you could ever need holding too. From a Jungian perspective, the shadow of this golden ruler is the exhausted child inside who wishes someone else would take charge for once. Your life may have taught you that being strong and organized is the only way to feel safe, so you hide your softer needs even from yourself. You do this more than you realize, saying it is easier if I just do it alone and laughing off any praise as no big deal. But a crown is not meant to bury your head in weight. It is meant to remind you of your inherent worth even when you are not carrying 3 jobs and 10 emotional loads at once. Your true task is to let some of that golden authority turn inward so you can speak to yourself with the same loyalty you give everyone else. Watch what happens next in your life when you begin to see leadership not as constant sacrifice, but as clear choice about where your energy actually belongs. You might worry that if you stop carrying so much, others will fall apart or blame you, but notice that this fear comes from an old chapter of your story, not from who you are now. Back then, you may have learned that love and safety arrived when you performed well and disappeared when you showed weakness or need. Today, as a simple, real-world experiment, choose one small situation where you would normally jump in to rescue everyone and instead pause for 10 minutes before you act, letting others try first while you breathe, and notice that the sky does not fall. Use that pause as proof that your value is not measured only by how much you do, but also by how kindly you treat your own limits and needs. Every time you resist the urge to fix everything instantly, you polish this crown from the inside and make a little more space for your authentic self to stand tall. Imagine looking back a year from now and seeing that you still care deeply for others, yet you are no longer carrying their worlds on your shoulders. You are walking beside them instead. That is the quiet upgrade this crown offers you, shifting from constant guardian to grounded leader of your own life. And your first step starts now as you dare to wear this crown on the inside too fully. If you chose option 2, this usually appears when you are trying very hard to stay calm and in control on the outside, while a louder, truer voice is starting to push from the inside. This icy blue crown carries the energy of clarity, logic, and composure, but notice the sharp spikes and cold light around it. Symbolically, this is the archetype of the thinker king or queen, the part of you that protects yourself by staying rational, polite, and reasonable, even when your heart wants to be messy and real. In simple Jungian language, your persona is the one who seems collected and above drama, while your shadow holds the feelings you do not fully trust: anger, longing, jealousy, need, desire for more than you currently allow yourself. Stay with me and picture this. You're writing a message to someone who matters a lot to you, a partner, a crush, a close friend, maybe even a boss. Something happened that hurt or confused you. You open the chat ready to say exactly how it felt. For a moment, raw words appear on the screen. Then the inner editor wakes up. Pay attention to this. You start deleting, softening, replacing "I felt ignored" with "no worries if you were busy," and "this really bothered me" with "it is probably just me, but..." 10 minutes later, the message is beautifully balanced and almost emotionless. You send it, and instantly feel both relieved and strangely unseen, as if you protected the relationship but abandoned yourself just a little. This is the pattern your crown points to: desire versus fear. You want connection, honesty, deeper intimacy, but you are afraid that your full emotional temperature will be too much or unreasonable, so you keep cooling it down until even you can barely feel it. In pop psychology language, someone might say you are conflict avoidant, but underneath it is not about weakness. It is about loyalty to an old rule that says, being calm keeps me safe. Maybe you grew up around people who exploded or shut down when emotions were direct. Maybe you were praised for being mature, the stable one, the good listener, so your nervous system learned that your role is to be the clear head in the room. The Jungian twist is that your shadow holds all the fire you tried to manage away. When you never give that part a voice, it slips out sideways as overthinking, cold distance, sarcastic jokes, or sudden silent withdrawals that confuse the people around you. Here is the twist within the twist. You do not only shrink yourself for others, you also shrink your dreams to match what seems reasonable. You talk yourself out of opportunities because they sound risky. You stay in half-satisfying situations because they are at least predictable. You often decide with your mind first and ask your heart for permission later, and your heart usually ends up whispering, maybe next year. You do this more often than you realize, and every time a small piece of your aliveness goes back into the shadow. Today, give that hidden part 10 focused minutes. Take a sheet of paper or open a note and set a timer. On the left, write what you usually say in a real situation you are facing now. A conversation, a boundary, a request. On the right, write what you would say if you were not afraid of being too emotional or too much. When the timer ends, choose one short sentence from the honest column and use it in real life within the next 20 minutes in a message or out loud. Not the whole speech, just one line. Then notice how your body feels. That tiny act is your blue crown warming up, your logic and your feelings standing side by side instead of fighting each other, and you taking up just a little more space in your own life. If you chose 3, this often means your heart is tired of being loud on the inside and quiet on the outside. The purple crown is the symbol of creative authority, the part of you that knows how to see possibilities, connect ideas, read people, and feel the emotional temperature of every room. In simple Jungian language, this is the royal archetype of the intuitive leader, but one who keeps stepping back so others do not feel threatened. Your light is big, so you keep turning the dimmer down. You crack jokes at your own expense. You soften your opinions, you downplay your talents, also no one can accuse you of thinking you are better than them. Your persona is the friendly one, the approachable one, the easy-to-be-around one. The shadow you hide is the part that wants to be fully seen and deeply respected. Picture a very real scene. At work or school, there is a meeting where people are stuck. You already see a solution in your mind, almost like a movie clip. You know exactly what you would say if you were not worried about how it would land. Your body leans forward, your mouth opens, and then someone louder jumps in. They offer an idea that is half-formed, and suddenly, everyone is nodding. You feel that small sting in your chest. You think, I was just about to say that, but you smile and let it pass. Later, you stay late fixing the details, writing the follow-up message, doing the invisible labor so everything actually works. The pattern repeats in friendships and relationships too. You give great advice, hold space, understand people more than they realize. But when your turn comes to ask for help, you say, "It is fine, I will figure it out." Here is the twist. Over time, the world starts believing the lower version of you that you keep putting forward, and a quiet resentment builds. From a pop psychology angle, people might say you are a people pleaser, but that phrase misses the deeper truth. What you are really protecting is belonging. Somewhere in your story, you learned that being impressive comes with a cost, so you try to be impressive and harmless at the same time. You make yourself relatable by shrinking your own victories, by talking down your dreams before anyone else can. The Jung Test energy behind this crown says your shadow holds old memories of being judged, envied, or misunderstood when you shone too brightly. To avoid repeating that pain, you now avoid the spotlight altogether. You tell yourself you are just being humble, but humility without self-acknowledgement slowly turns into self-erosion. Notice this. It is not that you lack confidence. It is that you rarely allow your confidence to finish a full sentence. See what happens next when you imagine wearing this crown fully. People might project onto you. Some will admire you. Some will compete with you. Some will expect more from you. That feels risky. Yet there is another possibility hidden inside the same symbol. When you own your inner authority, you unconsciously give others permission to own theirs. Instead of being the quiet support behind the scenes, you become the person who speaks clearly, sets the tone, and still stays kind. Your relationships shift from you secretly managing everything to you actually collaborating. The real fear is not that others will reject you. It is that you will have to change the story you tell about yourself. And that is exactly where your growth lives. Today, choose one area where you have been holding back and commit to a concrete visible step in the next 15 minutes. Send the message with your real idea instead of the watered-down version. Volunteer to lead one small part of a project. Or tell someone you trust about a dream you usually keep to yourself, using clear, confident words and no self-deprecating jokes. Then let the discomfort rise and fall without rushing to soften it, reminding yourself that every time you refuse to shrink, you are training your nervous system to believe that being seen and being safe can exist in the same room. If you chose 4, this often shows up when you feel that if you are not the one holding everything together, everything will fall apart. This red gold crown is the ruler archetype in a Jungian test, the part of you that feels responsible for the room, the mood, the plan. It glows with loyalty and strength, but look closely at the sharp points around it. They show how much pressure you carry and how afraid you are that if you loosen your grip for a moment, you will lose something precious: respect, security, love. The image that you are fine. Symbolically, this crown is the line between healthy leadership and quiet over-control. In popular psychology terms, your persona is the dependable one, the organizer, the person who steps up before anyone asks. People trust you because you are solid. In Jungian language, your shadow holds the softer parts you keep off stage: fear, doubt, the need to be cared for instead of always caring. You keep those parts behind the throne and stay busy managing everything around you. Stay with me here, because this is where shrinking begins. To keep the peace, you dim your own wants, pretend decisions are easy, and rarely let others see how much you wrestle inside. Picture a simple day. At work, a new project appears and everyone hesitates. Before you even think, you say, "I can take it." Your calendar is already full, but you adjust in your head, move lunch, cancel your workout, plan to stay late. At home, a friend messages you asking for help with something they could clearly handle themselves. You are tired, but you type, "Of course, no problem." Later that week, someone suggests a plan you secretly do not want: a weekend trip, a family obligation, an extra task. You feel your chest tighten. Your mind quietly says no, but your mouth politely says yes. You push your own limit, and then wonder why you feel resentful and strangely invisible. Notice this. You shrink not by being small, but by never allowing your own line in the sand. You probably override your own needs far more often than you ever admit, even to yourself. On the outside, you look powerful, decisive, in control. On the inside, you are constantly calculating how to keep everyone else happy, while losing track of what you actually want. Here is the twist. The more you overfunction, the more others underfunction around you, and the more it seems like you really are the only one who can handle things. In Jungian shadow work, this crown asks you to look at the belief underneath your over-responsibility. Maybe you learned that love is earned by being useful, that safety comes from anticipating problems, that saying no is selfish or dangerous. Your shadow holds the fear that if you drop the role of the reliable leader for even a moment, people will be disappointed, angry, or will leave. So you keep wearing the crown even when your neck aches. You say you like control, but what you really like is not having to face the terror of letting someone else choose and possibly getting hurt. From a pop psychology angle, this can look like poor boundaries, but at its core it is fear of change. If you start saying no, who are you then? If you let others carry their share, what is your place? Watch what happens next when you imagine stepping back a little. You may feel almost guilty for even thinking of resting. That guilt is not the truth. It is just an old script trying to keep you in the same role forever. The mini-climax of your story comes when you finally see that control has been protecting you and draining you at the same time. The crown wants to be worn with choice, not obligation. Your true power is not in managing every outcome, but in deciding what is and is not your responsibility in the first place. When you let that sink in, something in your chest usually relaxes, like your heart has been waiting for permission to take up space too. Today, choose one small request or expectation that you would normally accept automatically, and instead give a clear answer that matches your truth. Say a simple no to something that drains you, or a wholehearted yes to something that is just for you. Send the message or have the short conversation within the next 20 minutes, and then sit with the discomfort without taking it back, so your nervous system can learn that your world does not collapse when you stop shrinking to fit everyone else. If you chose 5, something in you is already tired of playing small and is secretly reaching for a different life, even if you still pretend that you are fine where you are. This green crown looks calm at first glance, almost modest, but stay with me. Its shape is tall and open like branches growing upward, and that is your nature. You are wired for growth, for expansion, for taking up honest space. Yet you often shrink yourself to keep the peace, to keep love, to keep things simple. The crown you picked is the symbol of a self that is meant to rise and a habit that keeps pressing you back down. In Jungian language, this is the call to individuation. Individuation sounds complicated, but it is simple here. It means becoming a person who does not edit their truth just to fit the room. The light side of this crown is courage. You have a powerful instinct to protect what is alive in you, your ideas, your sensitivity, your values. You make other people feel safe to be themselves because you quietly hold that permission for them. The shadow is that you rarely give that same permission to yourself. Notice this. You lower your voice. You soften your opinions. You act like the backup character in your own story so that no one calls you selfish, dramatic, or too much. Picture a very concrete day. You are in a meeting or group chat, and someone suggests a plan that does not sit right with you. Maybe it is extra work pushed on you. Maybe it is a trip you cannot afford. Maybe it is a family decision that ignores what you truly want. You feel that first inner no. Your body reacts before your mind. A little tension in your chest, a tiny sinking feeling. For a second, you consider speaking up, but watch what happens next. A quick thought flashes through your head. I do not want to cause trouble. I do not want them to think I am difficult. So you laugh it off, you say whatever works for everyone, you type sure no problem and hit send. Here is the twist. On the outside, you look easygoing. On the inside, the cost starts stacking up. You stay late at work again. You spend money you actually needed for yourself. You agree to see someone when what you really needed was rest. And while you do all this, a quiet resentment builds. Not explosive, not dramatic, just a dull ache of, I wish someone would protect me the way I protect everyone else. You tell yourself that you are just being kind, just being flexible, but you know that is only half the truth. The other half is fear. Fear that if you stop shrinking, you will lose your place in the group. From a pop psychology angle, people might call this people-pleasing, but that label is too small for what is really going on. What you are defending at all costs is your role, the identity of the reliable one, the loyal one, the steady one. That persona has kept you loved and needed, and it deserves respect. At the same time, your shadow holds the parts of you that want to be seen as powerful, talented, and deserving in your own right. Those parts are not trying to overthrow your kindness, they are trying to stand beside it. See what happens next when you imagine wearing this crown fully. You are still generous, still caring, but you are no longer bending your spine just to keep everyone else comfortable. There is one sentence you need to hear clearly. You dim your own light more often than you would ever demand someone else dim theirs. When a friend or partner plays small, you gently push them forward. When you do it, you call it being realistic, being mature, being considerate. This crown is telling you that your growth will not ruin anyone who truly belongs in your life. The ones who benefit from your shrinking are not your kingdom. The mini-climax of your story arrives the moment you realize that staying tiny is not actually protecting anyone. It is only delaying the conflict. The tension still leaks out later as fatigue, irritability, distance, even sudden explosions that surprise you. Jung would say that what you do not own in yourself ends up controlling you from the dark. Integration for you means letting your yes and your no both wear the crown, letting your heart and your backbone stand in the same place. Today, choose one situation where you have been saying maybe, or we will see, and turn it into a clear decision. Send the message that says, I cannot take this on after all, or yes, I am going to apply for this, or no, I will not be available that day. Do it within the next 20 minutes, even if your hands shake a little. Once it is sent, do not rush to apologize it away. Instead, put a hand on your chest, take one slow breath, and quietly acknowledge that this small, irreversible step is you lifting the crown from the table and finally placing it where it was always meant to be on your own head. Whichever crown you chose, the gold with emeralds, the icy blue, the violet royal, the fiery ruby band, or the wild green circle, all of them quietly point to the same pattern you learned to dim your own authority so that other people would not feel threatened, confused, or disappointed by your true size. You might do it by overworking to earn every bit of praise, by staying quiet so no one calls you arrogant, by turning your sensitivity into a joke, by pretending you do not care about things that actually matter a lot. Different crowns, same nervous question underneath it all. Am I allowed to stand in my full height without losing love, safety, or belonging? In Jungian language, each crown is a different persona you wear to survive in your kingdom. One is the responsible ruler who keeps everything running. One is the distant strategist who stays cool and hard to hurt. One is the charming performer who wins approval with sparkle. One is the loyal guardian who holds everything together. One is the growing sovereign who wants change but fears shaking the throne. The shadow of each persona holds the opposite qualities you push away: your neediness, your anger, your pride, your softness, your ambition. The symbol you picked shows where your inner royal walks confidently and where you quietly step off the carpet and hide behind the pillars when the music gets too loud. Think about how this plays out in real life. You sit in a meeting and have a better idea, but let someone else speak first and then agree with them. You start to say what you really want in a relationship, and then water it down so you do not look demanding. You watch chances pass by like carriages on a road, and tell yourself maybe next time, maybe when I am more ready, more perfect, more sure. This is how the shrinking becomes a routine. You polish the crown, you admire it, you talk about your potential with friends, but you leave it on the table when it is time to walk into the room as the actual ruler. The fact that you are noticing this now means something important. A chapter is ending. The old story where your worth depends on how small you can make yourself for others is running out of pages. In Jungian terms, you are standing at a threshold of integration, where the pieces you left in the attic of your psyche start knocking on the door asking to come home. Your task is not to become a different person, but to become a truer version of the one you already are. A self who can hold power and tenderness in the same body, who can say yes and no without losing their own respect. This is why I said that the real test starts after this video. The pictures and words here are only the mirror. The real exam begins when you go back to your chats, your calendar, your family table, and you catch yourself about to shrink again. In that tiny pause, you will remember your crown, your number, your pattern. That split second is your new doorway. You can walk the same loop, or you can take half a step in another direction, and every half step will start to rewrite the legend you live inside. Today, choose one small situation where you usually betray your own rank, and change your response by one clear degree in your favor. Write and send one honest sentence you would normally delete, ask one direct question you would usually swallow, or say one simple "I am not available" when you would normally bend. Do it within the next 20 minutes. Then take a breath and notice that nothing exploded. That quiet experiment is the first page of your next chapter, the one where you finally stop balancing your crown in your hands and learn to wear it gently but fully as you move through your life. If you are still here with me, it means some part of you is tired of shrinking and already reaching for a quieter, truer kind of power. So before you move on to the next thing, I want you to mark this moment on purpose. Leave your number in the comments and enter your name beside it as if you are gently crowning yourself in public, instead of hiding in the back row. Tell me in a few words where you have been playing small and what clicked for you in this Jungian reading. If this felt accurate or strangely comforting, pause for a second and simply, like this, letting that tiny gesture be a yes to your own growth rather than just a random tap. If you know you forget to know yourself easily when life gets loud, subscribe so these tests can keep calling you back to who you really are. And when you are ready to go one layer deeper into your own shadow and light, watch the next test on your screen right now and treat it as the continuation of the same story you just began here.